Welcome to worship. As we adjust to this rude awakening of losing an hour of sleep, and we also look forward to longer days to come. Welcome to worship. We are glad that you are here. In this world of uncertainty, here we are, taking time to pause together, to breathe together, to be together. So welcome to All Souls. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and join in our opening hymn, which is Hush.
Sound issue. It's okay. This is the joyful hubbub part of the service anyway, so. Each week, we take a moment to greet one another, to share what we hold in our hearts. And boy, these days, we really need to share what we hold in our hearts and be joyful together. So first, we turn and we wave to the people in the online pews. We're so glad you're with us. If you're new to the online pews, please let us know in the chat so you can get an extra welcome there. And if you're new in Unity Hall here and you're willing to just raise your hand so we can give you a special welcome. If you notice anybody who's new but a little afraid to raise their hand, you can give them the All Souls welcome. And let's see, if you are a James, would you raise your hand so we can specially welcome you? Aren't we thrilled to have them here today? So make a joyful noise as we pass the peace.
What a delight to welcome the Reverend Jessica James to the pulpit this morning. And a welcome to Jessica's family. Jessica and Royce have been beloved members of All Souls since 2004. And All Souls has also had the joy of being in the company of their 4 children, Isis, Yamaya, Olorun, and Sati. Jessica discerned a call to ministry and attended Andover Newton. And with First Parish of Sherborne Mass, All Souls, ordained Reverend Jessica in June of 2020. Jessica has served on the board of the UU Church of the Larger Fellowship, and she works in the field of restorative justice and re-entry after confinement. Just recently, in fact, last week, Jessica started in a UU spiritual entrepreneur program called Glean. So we look forward to hearing more about that, Jessica, and it is so good to have you here. Welcome.
We acknowledge the Nahantic, Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, and Eastern Pequot people as the traditional caretakers of the land on which we worship. We honor and pay respect to these tribes, their ancestors, and their lineage, who today uphold traditional practices, art, and education. Each week, we light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. And that symbol arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. It also arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored, because they are beloved and precious. This morning, we remember all of the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. This morning, I invite up Olorun to come and light our chalice. And as Olorun lights the chalice, we say these words together. As we light this chalice, may we make of our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all.
Each week, we light a candle of peace for a place that is in particular need of awareness and care. Today, as Perry lights the candle, let's hold in our hearts the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who are facing a worsening humanitarian crisis following the termination of USAID funding. Millions of people have been left without access to clean water, to food, to medical care. And there are serious potential ramifications for global health. May this flame remind us of our shared responsibility to advocate for and to show compassion and justice. So this morning, our story for all ages is called Last Stop on Market Street. The words are by Matt de la Pina, and the illustrations are by Christian Robinson. We hope you like this story.
CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella. How come we gotta wait for the bus in all this wet?
Trees get thirsty too, his Nana told him.
The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear, placed it in his palm.
Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. The man across the way was turning a guitar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon. She made sure CJ did the same.
The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit.
How come we always gotta go here after church? Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere.
I feel sorry for those boys, she told him. They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the Sunglass Man.
CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself.
A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat.
How come that man can't see?
CJ, what do you know about seeing? Nana told him. Some people watch the world with their ears.
That's a fact. Their noses too, the man said, sniffing at the air. That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am.
Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh.
The guitar player was plucking strings and beginning to sing.
To feel the magic of music, the blind man whispered, I like to close my eyes.
Nana closed hers too.
So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him a feeling of magic.
The song ended, and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat.
Last stop on Market Street, Mr. Dennis called.
CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. He reached for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here?
She smiled and pointed to the sky. Sometimes, when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful.
CJ saw the perfect rainbow arching over their soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found the beautiful where he never even thought to look. When he spotted the familiar faces in the window, he said, I'm glad we came. He thought his Nana might laugh her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him,
Me too, CJ. Now come on. Thus ends the story. So, we all have to take a moment to notice those beautiful things among the dirty things, and to notice the dirty things too, and see the beauty in them. And so the children and youth are going to go off to faith formation, and we're going to talk more about the beauty of community and pastoral care. And if you could sing us out with Trees of the Field, that would be wonderful.
one of the ways that we tend to the fabric of community is to bear witness to each other's lives, the joy and the sorrow both. And these can be shared in 3 ways. If you're in the online queues, you can write in the YouTube chat what you would like to have shared here in Unity Hall. And those of you in Unity Hall, you can also write in the book that sits in the lobby. And everyone can email belovedcommunity@allsouls.net. And those of you here in Unity Hall, you are invited to come forward to light a candle of intention as you're so moved. And if you're at the front of the line, if you would please move up to allow the flow to happen more easily. So the circle is open. Your joy, your sorrow, all is welcome here. From Grace Pankow. Grace says, my beloved daughter, Maria Grace Metcalf Lewis, passed away 10 years ago today. Grace, we are surrounding you and your beautiful memory of Maria with love. From Peter Cooper, Joy for the warmer temps as spring moseys in. Indeed so, Peter, indeed. From Diana, struggling with personal relationships, I want the best, healthiest outcome for all involved. And we too, Diana, and we are surrounding you with support in your struggle. And from Maria Barais, I'm getting a tooth extracted tomorrow. Please pray for an easy time for me. Prayers coming your way, Maria. Yeah. So let us hold space for all that is being shared and all that is in and on our hearts and our minds. We'll continue in a communion of meditation and prayer, followed by silence. Spirit of life, known by many names, yet by no name fully known. Some of us carry lightness this day. Celebrations, breakthroughs, moments of unexpected beauty. Many of us carry heaviness, loss that feels raw, worries that keep us from sleep. In this beloved community, may we make room for it all, realizing that to be human is to hold both joys and sorrows, sometimes in the same instant. May our shared humanity bring connection and hope in these challenging times. May this time shared in beloved community grant us the possibility that even in times of turbulence, we might find clarity and purpose and peace and bring forth that in the world. Amen. Should invite forward Jack.
The choir today will be singing a piece by Peter Amadon, The Beatitudes. Peter Amadon was a choir director for many years of Bev's and a campmate of Platt's. And the Beatitudes are a series of statements that start with blessed are, and then a group of people, poor in spirit, meek, those who mourn, those who hunger after justice, the merciful, pure in heart, followed by a reason. The piece starts with one line per reason until you get to page 2, and then it dwells on something important to us all as UU members, and that is being peacemakers. Excuse me, finding internal peace and spreading that peace. The reason for that, that's given, resonated strongly with some of us and didn't. So, and that reason being, so they shall be called children of God. As UU, our concept of God, of holiness, of sacredness, of fellowship, of community is as broad as the number of people who are here. So at that point, what we're doing in the choir is, I've asked the choir to sing either a name for God that they use, if you come from a theistic perspective, or a name you want to bring in from a different tradition, or because we're broader than this is a place where both belief and unbelief is welcome, belief and perspective that's broader than that. We'll have choir members will be singing what they are children of. Love, joy, hope. What brings us joy? Why are we here in this place of sanctuary or on the online pews? What do we feel at All Souls? I invite the choir members to come up.
That was so beautiful. Stop for a sec. Thank you, Jack, and the choir. That was so beautiful. Our first reading this morning is an excerpt from the book No One is Self-Made by Dr. Lakeisha Hellman. A humble villager understands that whatever success they've garnered is due to their hard work, vision, and a village of people who supported them. They understand that self-made is a myth, and that goals and visions have a greater possibility of being actualized with a village-made mindset. Humility also allows you the ability to evolve, to constantly learn, and to be open to being taught. Even the most confident leader must open themselves up to meaningful feedback, to not feel threatened when they're in the room with other powerful and impactful people. All this is wonderful in theory, of course, but in order to achieve the ideal, we must confront and push back against some of the realities that make it difficult to get well and work well. First, our country is entrenched in unhealthy constructs that are deemed normal. A never-rest mindset that until very recently prized the relentless hustle. Our economic systems are set up for profit above all else. For that reason, we are being led by people who are unwell, which in turn creates a workforce that is depleted and disconnected from a greater purpose and from each other. Leaders are showing up as cynical, unhinged, and separated from the interest and well-being of their constituents. If we continue to have people in positions of influence who are not well and not prioritizing collective care for themselves and their communities, our villages will not change. Systems will not change. The body of the country will continue to operate in an unwell state, neglecting our humanity and our peace. That is the end of Dr. Hallman's reading.
Our second reading is from the Book of Wisdom, translated by the Reverend Dr. Wilda C. Gaffney from A Women's Lectionary for the Whole Year, Year W. The righteous will stand with great confidence in the presence of those who have oppressed them and those who make light of their labors. When the unrighteous see, they will be shaken with a terrible fear, and they will be amazed at the unexpected salvation. They will speak amongst themselves, repenting, and out of distress of spirit they will groan and say, "These are the persons whom we once held in derision and made the meaning of insult. We were foolish. We reckoned their lives as madness and their end without honor. Why have they been numbered among the children of God? And why is their lot among the holy ones? For the least may be pardoned in mercy, but the mighty will be mightily tested. For the sovereign of all will not draw back from anyone or show respect to greatness, because small and great alike God made, and God takes thought for all alike." Here ends the reading.
I love this. Accessible chalice is wonderful. My goodness. I just want to say good morning, everyone. Good morning, beloveds. It is so wonderful to be here with you this morning. I'm delighted to be here with you this morning. And how many of you are feeling well rested after losing an hour of sleep last night? Anyone? So you're awesome. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Reverend Jessica James. This is my home congregation. My husband, Royce, and I joined All Souls in 2004 with one 4-year-old child. And we left for Ohio in 2019 with 4 beautiful children. So thank you all for that. Be fruitful and bear fruit, right? And this is the community from which I received my call to Unitarian Universalist ministry. So I just want to take a moment to tell you how special it is to be here with you. And this All Souls is my sponsoring congregation while I was in seminary at Andover Newton, and the congregation that co-ordained me with my teaching congregation in 2020. I had a fancy online ordination during the height of the pandemic. And this continues to be the affiliate UU congregation that supports me in my community ministry. The humility is the perfect theme for me to be invited to be with you this morning. It's humbling to be here in this pulpit and to look out at all of your beautiful faces, some familiar, some brand new. And it's also really humbling to be on this platform of my mentors and colleagues, Reverend Katrina and Reverend Carolyn, who are now, I'm blessed to have them as my colleagues, and who lead, our ministers lead such a loving and healthy and strong congregation. Is there any greater subversion than a multi-generational community doing its best to live out our faith covenants and to love this broken world? This is holy work that you all are doing, even in a time change. This time change. This is a sign that spring is coming. Thank you for that reminder, Reverend Katrina. It does mean that spring is coming and the days get longer. Not that we were cheated this morning. But it also is a recognition that our lives are calibrated not by our solo efforts. We don't even have to set the clocks anymore, right? Our devices automatically change in the middle of the night. But our lives are calibrated by the rhythms of our shared world. So again, just thank you for sacrificing that extra hour of sleep and coming to church this morning. You've already accomplished all that anyone can ask for you today. So just take a deep breath and just relax. And I'm going to marvel again. I preached at a beautiful old New England church in the fall with a big, beautiful pulpit, and Royce had to stack chairs for me to sit down. Holding on and hoping that it didn't wiggle around too much. So friends, this has been a difficult week to write a sermon. I'm just like any other UU in that I really like to feel smart and to be well-informed and well-read. But the onslaught of headlines and speculation about who has been harmed and what will collapse next is more paralyzing than activating. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. Instead of waking my senses and brightening my pathway towards the next right step, it feels like the more information I take in, the more confused and powerless I feel. And I have to be reminded by my community that these are not unprecedented times that we're living in. This is not new. It's not the worst of times. Greedy, hateful people who seemingly act on their whims and without consequences are nothing new to the world. The authors of our opening hymn were enslaved in the most violent, deadly system of human trafficking that the world has ever seen. And thousands of people who sang, "Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name," well, they never lived to see the freedom and justice that beckoned to them. But they kept singing, and they kept fighting for their lives and for the lives of others, and lovingly wrapping secret maps and hope inside words and harmony and poetry. And they leaned on their faith, like all of you here this morning. Their faith was a beautiful symphony of African and Christian practices which taught them that they are not alone. None of us are alone. And their faith taught them to trust that wickedness and evil would not prevail. For the mighty will be mightily tested, and out of distress of spirit, they will groan. The groaning that we hear these days is not from the mighty, but from those who are the most vulnerable to the mighty. But we hold fast to our faith and to our belief that injustice and violence can't last, that it can't prevail. In our faith tradition, we honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. That summarizes humility in our faith values. And this core spiritual value of us UUs, it often is at odds with our nation's misguided core value of rugged individualism. And it can be tricky to figure out the difference between rugged individualism and self-reliance, between pulling ourselves up and leaning really heavily on the web that holds us. But figuring out this difference and leveraging what we call collective care is the only way that we're going to topple the empire. Humility woke everyone up to come and be a person sitting in a chair in this congregation. Sometimes that feeling of powerlessness and the onslaught of everything that's going wrong in the world I feel maybe I'm just a cog in the wheel. What can I do? But I want to ask you to look around and see what a beautiful wheel you all make. And think about what's holding you and bringing you, beckoning you to this community week after week, and holds you in between Sundays before you come back. I think it's because the joy that you find in the gifts that others offer lights up your heart. And if it were like me, that it is a warm sense of knowing that to be a part of an interdependent community, to be a part of this web, is not about being weak, but that the power of humility is in connection. There are lots of different examples that we all have of feeling humbled in our daily lives, I'm sure. For me, parenting and becoming a minister are some of the most humbling experiences I've had. And trying to figure out, to discern what it is that each of us individually are being called to contribute to this moment, to meet this moment today, is an extremely humbling discernment practice. I've had the honor of being a part of a UUA spiritual entrepreneur cultivators program that's called Glean. And it's a business, it's through a business school, and it's very structured as far as developing very detailed business plans and organizational details, particularly for spiritual entrepreneurs, people who feel called in the world, like the members of All Souls do, to bring forth our gifts and to ease suffering out in the world. And for this program, there was a very extensive application, and they wanted to know what we feel called to, what problem we feel called to solve, all the ways that we hope to solve it, how the work that we have done so far. And the ministry that I've been called to do is re-entry after confinement and working with families, people reconnecting with their families, reconnecting with themselves, reconnecting with the world, when the deck is pretty much stacked against them. I know some of you also have experience working with that community. So I spent a lot of time working on this application and just laboring over it and poured my heart into it, and I have great answers, for these problems that people face, people that experience life differently than I do. And we had our first session of the Glean cohort last week, and we meet for 2 hours over Zoom, as many of our meetings happen these days. And we were asked to think about what our calling is. What are you being asked to do in this moment? What problem are you being asked to meet? And as we thought of that and reflected in small groups, the response from the leaders at that point was, all right, so now you need to let all of that go, forget about the solutions that you have and the ideas that you have, and fall in love with the problem. Don't be in love with the solutions that you think you have to offer, but fall in love with the problem. And this has stayed with me throughout the week, because I sometimes struggled with positivity, or the opposite, in these times. And I thought, I don't want to focus on the problem. I don't want to dwell on the problem, the hurt and the sorrows that are happening on this planet, and particularly in this community that I want to serve. But I lifted that up, and I want us to lift it up together, that is a very important part of meeting this moment in the world of humility, that we see and fall in love with the problem, that we let go of the conception that we have the answer, that I have the correct answers to offer. I hear throughout the week in other settings, what do we do? What can we do? What should we be doing in this time? And maybe we shouldn't be looking for those answers. Maybe we should be gathering together. Maybe instead of reading as much as we can possibly read and taking in as much information as we can, we should let humility drive us towards one another. When we don't know what to do, we're trying to fall in love with the problem, we gather together with our people, like all of you have gathered here this morning, and trust that wisdom that cannot be created by individuals can come out of the collective, of the love of the community. That there's things that can be experienced in this community that wouldn't be experienced or known or understood if each of you weren't present here. If each of you didn't bring your full self, all of our warts and all, into the community with an open heart and an open mind in this place of welcoming and safety. I'm asking for us to think about faith and faith in the unseen, and trusting that we're not going to fix this. We're not going to see the solutions immediately that we so desperately want to see. But we are going to see incremental change by the little steps that we take every day, and by seeing and recognizing the gifts that each member of the community has to offer. That each person who humbly shows up as their full self will come together, and this energy that's developed will rebel against empire. Success and joy and hope are village-made. They're not self-made, because no one is self-made. The humble aren't weak. We humble people are subversive. Our power is in our community and our connection together. And though we may not see the dramatic changes that we want to see, the justice that we want to see in the world, we can fully see, and fully be present with one another. The world is fractured by greed and injustice and loneliness. But humility is our compass. Humility calls us to see the beauty in the struggle, to be the village that nurtures weary souls, and to leverage our collective power for equity. None of us are self-made, but together we can make miracles. We need to see the dirt, as Perry told us and like we learned about in our story, but not get fixated on it, not forget about the beauty that's around us and the people around us, and to gather together to be reminded, to help point out to one another and have it pointed out to us, like Nana pointed to the rainbow for CJ. As you move through the week, I invite you to think about, in each of your communities, who's your Nana? Who pulls you into the rain and says, look, the trees are thirsty, and only your nourishment will give them drink. Systems built on rugged individualism crumble under their own weight, but not on our timeline. But I assure you that they will crumble. And what will remain is the web of our interconnected existence. Our humility that drives us to ask, what can I do? Our humility is 1,000 tiny yeses to connection. It's recognizing that the rain and the sun conspire together to make the rainbow's arch, and that abundance will bloom not from our solitary efforts out in the world, but from the messy, joyful labor of community. The least, as we learned in the beautiful choir offering and in the readings from today, the least are the architects of the holy. So friends, let's be people who trade the myth of self-made for the miracle of village-made. Let's look not focusing our eyes on the mighty and the wicked, but at everyone else around us who is doing the best that they can and working so hard to fix this broken world. Know that, I can't repeat it enough, it can't be done without each of you. May it be so, and blessed be.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. The stewardship campaign resulted in 159 pledges submitted out of a possible 204 potential pledge units, or 77.9%. $437,000 have been pledged out of a target of 472,000, or 92.6%. So a huge thank you to all who have pledged, and pledges are, of course, still very welcome. As we prepare for the offering, let's join and sing these words. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love of all community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves in this our offering. morning offering is gratefully received. For all that you have shared, all you have sacrificed, thank you. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and singing our final hymn, which is Wake Now My Senses.
Please join in the words for extinguishing the chalice. Our worship has ended, but our service is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. The chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion.
the online pews, I invite you to place your hand on your heart and then on your arm reaching out towards the world beyond the screen. And those in Unity Hall, if you would reach out toward the world outside of this sanctuary.
Beloveds, you are loved, you are held, and you are seen. Go forth out into the world with your senses awakened and join with all pilgrims who seek the true. Carry the light in the pathway in front of you as you join with all humanity in love and return again next week with joy.
Amen. What's that, Bill? We have several announcements. If you are new to All Souls and would like to know more about our faith community, please stop by the welcome table here, and Peggy will be happy to greet you and answer your questions. Today is the Caregivers Sharing Circle in Nash. This coming Friday night is Friday Night Folk, March 14th. Claudia Schmidt will be performing. Get your tickets on Humanitics or call the office to reserve your seat. Next Saturday, March 15th, is All Souls Empty Bowls Project. Enjoy a warm bowl of homemade soup on a cold winter's night and take home a beautiful handmade pottery bowl. The Empty Bowls Project is to raise awareness and money for food insecurity. All proceeds are going to the Food to the People food bank here in New London. And as we approach the likelihood of SNAP benefits being cut, food insecurity is going to increase to an even greater level. So come and support the cause and be a part of community next Saturday. Tickets are available on Humanitics. The link is in the weekly e-news, and you can also sign up today on the clipboard right here. Next Sunday, March 16th, guest preacher, the Reverend Tricia Brennan, will be here at the pulpit. And also next week, there is a new sharing circle, the Rainbow Connection Sharing Circle, which will be immediately following worship. And this is open to LGBTQIA+ people and any souls who may be exploring, questioning their orientation or gender identity. That's next week. Questions or to RSVP, please see Kyle Murray. So that's it. Have a good week. Oh, excuse me. One more. I'd like to invite forth Eileen Ego. Eileen.
Move this because I'm definitely going to knock it over. Hi, I'm Eileen Ego. I am the chair of the interim search team, and I just wanted to talk with you for a few minutes about the interim ministry process. For some of you who stayed last week after the service, some of this may be repetitive, but I think it's important enough that it bears repeating. So the first thing I want to say is that Carolyn did us a huge favor by giving us the amount of notice that she provided. There are congregations who are only right now finding out that they're not going to have ministers come June or July, right? Carolyn let us know in October, which gave us plenty of time to pull together a search team, get the search team organized and up and going well before the official process even opened. The search team was introduced a couple weeks ago. Again, it's Maggie Cluett is here today, Rebecca Grabner, Linda Sargent, and myself. We're available, to talk with anybody whenever you need. Right now, we're in the process of completing what they call the Congregational Search Profile, which is an online document that asks about the church history, the demographics, some of the programs and resources that we offer as a congregation, as well as a slew of backup documents they want, all the past meeting minutes, budgets, bylaws, policies, procedures. A giant shout out again, I can't say this enough, to Lynn Taormina for the work she does on the website. Because most of those are already in existence, we just have to go copy and paste, right? So that's awesome. We plan on having the profile complete by the middle of April. At the same time that we're pulling together our congregational profile, the ministerial candidates are pulling together their own profiles, which will include biographical information, references, sermons that they've preached, etc. On May 4th, we will receive the names of the candidates that are interested in our position. And then the interim search team will review all of those ministerial profiles. We'll meet with the candidates. We'll listen to their sermons. On May 18th, we will send rank our choices of candidates and submit that to the UUA. The ministerial candidates will do the same. And on May 19th, we find out who we match with. It's kind of like online dating. I think the one thing I want to address, maybe the most common question people might have, is why 2 years? The interim ministry is going to be a 2-year process, right? Why 2 years? It seems like a really long time, right? You know what else is a really long time? 24 years, right? Carolyn's been with us for 24 years. We found out at the council meeting the retreat last Saturday, that 86% of us have only ever known Carolyn as our minister here at All Souls. So that's a tremendous loss, right? And we need to allow space and time to process that loss, grieve all those feelings, feel all those feelings, right? I mean, she's not dying, but it's still a really big loss, right? So you don't just flick a switch and move on, right? That takes time. We also need to figure out who we are as a congregation without Carolyn, right? What we want to look like to the world and what sort of initiatives we want to work on. And all of this discernment is going to help us identify the skills and the interests we want our eventual settled minister to have, right? That all takes time. The good news, we're not in this alone. These interim ministers are specially trained for this process. They will be sensitive to the loss we're feeling. They're skilled at the discernment process, and they'll provide a really important objective view of our congregation. Now here's the hard part. Likely they're going to compliment us on a lot of things, right? Because we're awesome, right? We've got a lot of good things going on, okay? But they may have a few suggestions on things that we might want to explore further or tweaks we want to make, right? And with Carolyn's message of humility last week and Jess's message of humility this week, we want to receive that, right, in a very humble way. All of this is going to prepare us for our new settled minister. All of this takes time, but in the end, it's in the best interest of all souls as we move into the future. So if anybody has any questions, the four of us are available after the service. Our email addresses are in the e-blast. We're available anytime, any place you want to hit us up. Okay? Thank you very much.